This time on Fifth Gear, it's all about power. Karun and I test two new sports SUVs that boast supercar levels of performance, off-road ability and family swallowing space. Which one comes out on top?
Will you stop it, man?
Vicky gets to grips with 3.5 litres of V6 turbocharged American muscle, costing a cool £500,000. The ultra-exclusive Ford GT.
Oh, it's quite ferocious, you know. You have to be on your game.
The team tests the latest version of the mighty 3 Series. But have BMW managed to further refine the sports saloon famed for its speed and handling?
Oh no. In, out, shake it all about.
Jimmy revisits a car that's over a quarter of a century old, but still as iconic as ever, the Jaguar XJ220, and discovers how its design has shaped the sports cars we drive today.
Oh my gosh!
And Johnny gets behind the wheel of the Morgan Plus 6.
Come on.
The first all-new model to come out of the Malvern factory for nearly 20 years.
Give him a proper turbo snort.
Not many weeks go by without a manufacturer announcing a new premium sports utility vehicle. While they may not need the off-road capability of their forefathers, they offer a higher driving position, a bit of badge cred, and some wholesome practicality. But the market is saturated, with pretty much every manufacturer having a car on offer.
So when my mate Karun and I were told we're going to spend the whole day in these, the Jaguar F-Pace and the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, well, I think it's fair to say we're a bit underwhelmed.
But then we had a closer look at them, and it's fair to say we're now overwhelmed.
Because this F-Pace isn't your average Chelsea tractor, it's the SVR model. And that means it's got a supercharged V8 under the bonnet, producing 550 horsepower and a 0 to 62 time of 4.3 seconds. That's over a second faster than a basic F-Type.
And this Stelvio has a Quadrifolio badge, which is only reserved for Alfa's high-performance models. It's got a twin-turbo V6 producing 510 horsepower and a 0 to 62 time of just 3.8 seconds.
With supercar levels of performance, space for the family, and some off-road capability, it's possible that they could be all the car you ever need.
However, while both these manufacturers are renowned for making great sports cars, they both only started making SUVs in 2016, and neither has produced a high-performance SUV before. So, are they any good? And of the two, which is best?
3 tests to find out?
Yeah, but are you going to choose who's driving what, as usual?
Plato, Jag.
We'll start by assessing road manners.
I've never really been a fan of Jags, so I feel a bit compromised because I don't like them. But I have to say, this is quite nice in here, actually, isn't it?
I like it. I really do. 75,000, 69 for the Alfa, so it's a little bit more money.
So what's this, 550 horsepower?
Yeah, 550, so there's plenty of grunt.
Do we really need that? That amount of grunt?
You don't need it, but you want it.
Driving position's good.
I don't like this headdress. That's a bit weird.
You know, I've got
honestly.
that.
I feel like it's pushing my head forward. Tell you what, it's got a good sized boot though, 650 litres. Like if you're going off on holiday and you got...
What do you mean holiday?
suitcases.
I don't have holidays, I'm always working. You have holidays, do you?
Sure.
While the Jag is quick, an SUV still needs to be good for those in the back.
Can I be your chauffeur?
On your way, driver. I'm not a particularly tall bloke, but I tell you, the legroom's not great here. I reckon if we'd swap, I think you would find the legroom a bit crampy. I tell you what I don't like though, is this staring straight at this solid seat in front of me. I can't see where I'm going. The rear suspension ride quality is fantastic. It's really comfy back here with the bumps.
What's the noise like in the back?
Noisy, but like fun noisy.
Yeah.
I can still, we can still have a conversation.
Do you know what? So far, we're liking this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Time for the Stelvio, and first impressions are encouraging.
It drives well. I think the ride quality is really good. I think the engine for a 2.9 litre V6.
Twin turbo though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it runs really well. It's got enough torque.
But then we turned our attention to interior quality.
I just don't feel as special inside.
The sat-nav screen's way too small. The door, I mean, there's leatherette in here. What the? What?
Yeah, think about £6,000 less, but it feels like a lot less.
Yeah, like the door
you know, for what
pockets
you're
are
paying.
nasty plastic.
In common with most Alphas, the car has 3 driving modes, known as DNA.
Dynamic, normal. I don't like normal.
Natural, it's not normal.
It's natural.
Natural. And A, I think, is all
Like
weather.
it.
When you're in natural mode, what's quite smart actually is it drops it down to just 3 cylinders. So for fuel economy, if you're driving around in the city of London,
That's on 3 now, isn't it?
it's on 3 now. It's actually quite a smart thing to do.
There's a
we pull
lay-by up here and I'll jump in the back. But you know it's raining. It's not getting me out wet. No, wait.
All those loafers you're wearing. It's a great shot of your bum on camera. That's excellent.
There's only just enough room for me. My knees are just touching the seat. It is quite dark. It's got those tinted rear windows. Hold
magic.
on. I think there's a net.
Oh, right.
Now we're talking. Now we've
Let's start
sussed the
again.
net out. That's a much
much
better place.
The boot in this is smaller than the Jag. About 550, so 100 litres smaller.
Do you know what? It's nearly there, isn't it? It's nearly there. For me, I think the Jag's a better space inside. It's more luxurious.
I think on the road, if I had to pick the two, I'd go the Jag.
So the Jag wins on road thanks to its refined quality interior and comfortable drive. Join us later for part 2 of our super SUV battle, where few Jags or Alphas have gone before. We're heading off-road. Sort of. Now it's time for us to get a first look and a first drive of a brand new model. Yes, it's the 5th gear team test.
So this week we're looking at the new BMW G20 320d X-Drive M Sport.
AKA the new 3 Series. BMW have sold 15 million of them since 1975, making it their most successful model. So can this, the 7th version, maintain the 3's reputation as one of the best driving and best built mid-sized cars around? Prices start at 32 grand, but the one we've got costs 40.
It's a beautiful thing. It just looks right.
I'm loving the black details, the wheels, the blacked out windows.
It's got active nostrils. It's aero-inspired, so it's not letting in as much air.
It's closed right now to make the car more aerodynamic, but like a Venetian blind, it opens up, letting in more airflow when the car needs more cooling.
So we've got a new platform, a new body. The engine, though, we have seen before, but this is 50 kilograms lighter than its predecessor.
Can I show you something which I know you'll get sexed up about? It's a thing of beauty, this.
Spinning wheel centers, so BMW stays the right way up.
That's good though, isn't it?
This actually is one of the class-leading size boots.
I mean, in all honesty, I don't think I've ever seen Vicky get in a boot of a car before.
BMW themselves say that this car has now more space on the interior than ever before.
So we decided to go 3 abreast in the back, which is a bit creepy because there was no one in the passenger seat. But, you know, we're testing the car. It's not the real world.
They've done a really good job with this cabin upgrade, for sure. Really
lush,
great,
isn't it?
yeah.
To reduce the distraction of fiddling with a touchscreen, the 3 Series comes with the latest gesture control.
Jace, what are you doing?
It's got gesture control.
Are you doing the right gestures?
Look.
My gosh, that did work.
Volume.
Is that actually working? You're just making up.
No, that's change the CD.
What?
To
What?
to American soft rock.
Interesting, yes. Needed. I don't think so.
Should we go for a drive?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, it's supposed to be the ultimate driver's saloon. I had to test it properly.
Oh no.
I don't think it was a very good idea for me to be on that side of the car because I got the full weight of particularly Johnny. And each time Jason went hooning it.
Oh, yes!
Stop!
Gypsy!
No.
The chassis was good, it was pointy, it was dynamic. You could definitely feel the difference when you select different driving modes. In sport, it allowed me to have some fun where I could slide the car a little bit. It was very user-friendly on the limit. Proper bit of kit.
This car has got innovative damping, right? When
all
the
new.
car has only got Jason in it, the damping system accommodates for it. Yes.
So if you've got a boot full of stuff from the garden centre, it will know.
yeah,
It adjusts,
it
constantly
adjusts.
adjusts.
Okay. But that's the thing about the BMW, it is a driver's car.
In, out, shake it all about.
But the 3 Series haven't finished showing off just yet. It's got all the latest tech.
I'd love you to go through these cones and then press a button and the car will automatically reverse exactly the way you came without you having to touch the steering wheel.
So is this effectively remembering
Yes.
where I'm going and where I've been?
It's remembering your steering input and then we'll reverse that for you.
Okay, so off we go then. Up to 22 miles an hour this will work.
So this is simulating like a windy drive or a narrow lane.
Yep.
Oh, there's a tractor.
There's a tractor.
Oh,
See, Best reverse.
so
Right,
reverse,
so
do you have to
we'll
put
go-
reversing assistant on?
Yep,
Or?
press reversing assistant. Lovely.
Hands off wheel.
Hands
So-
off wheel, a little bit of throttle. Look at the
It's
steering wheel.
moving.
It's counting
moving.
down. It's going.
Not too fast, Plato.
It's counting it down. Look.
Look
Counting
at that.
yardage.
Oh,
Oh,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Do you know
whoa,
what?
Whoa, whoa,
wow.
whoa, whoa.
Isn't that amazing?
that's mental.
Is it going to stop? There you go. End
no,
of route will be reached shortly.
How cool is that?
So what scores for BMW's latest high-tech 3 Series?
I'm going to give it a very good 8 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because I think it's a fantastic car.
Everything works great. So I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Which gives the BMW 3 Series an impressive team test score of 32.5 out of 40. Join us after the break when Johnny gets behind the wheel of what may look like a classic, but is in fact a brand new Morgan.
This thing is really rather good.
And Jimmy reveals why the unique design of Jaguar's 90s pin-up, the XJ220, makes it a motoring icon.
What an absolute beautiful thing.
While most motor manufacturers are constantly launching new models boasting advances in performance and tech, there's one company that's a bit different.
I'm talking about the Morgan Motor Company here in the Malvern Hills. They've been making unique sports cars here for 110 years.
Take the car I'm driving.
This is a Morgan V8. It's nearly 30 years old, but you kind of wouldn't know it because it kind of looks the same as all the others.
And that's because the majority of Morgan customers really want a car that harks back to the good old days when British cars really were British, when men were called Bertie and they wore tweed, you see?
Hold on to your hats, I'm going to give the kitten a squirt.
It's a formula that worked. People queued up to own a Morgan, the pinnacle of handmade British engineering. In fact, at one point, you had to wait 10 years for one of their cars.
But you see, even Morgan couldn't hold back time forever and had to progress. A company that's been run by a family member almost all of its life got sold to new owners, Italian owners. And do you know what? They wanted a little bit of change. They needed a new model, the first new model in 19 years.
So today I'm heading to their factory to find out how this very traditional British car company is coping with foreign owners and their ideas for the new car.
How are they changing things up? I mean, what changes are we going to see? Is it going to stay in here? Going to stay in Malvern?
Definitely.
You're not disappearing to China,
Definitely.
are you?
The home of no.
Okay.
The home of building
Bologna?
Morgans is here,
No.
the foot of the Malvern Hills.
And reassuringly, the new car will still be lovingly handmade, but will it still incorporate the very un-car-like material that Morgans are famous for?
The new Morgan, is there any wood?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
There is?
This is a big part of what we do. It's a wooden frame.
So there's enough here to keep the aficionados happy. But in other areas, the design of the new car has really moved on.
We've introduced an aluminium platform to the product range.
Yep.
Recognising we need to consider upcoming technology, twice as stiff as anything we've ever done before, lighter than anything we've ever done before.
And the changes don't just stop at the chassis. The bodywork is new, the suspension is new, the brakes and the engine all new. But one thing that hasn't really changed is the classic appearance.
I know what you're thinking. Doesn't look very different, does it? It is though, trust me. In fact, the only bit of that car that's been carried over from the previous model, there's little shiny catches on the bonnet.
The new car is called the Plus 6, and for a very good reason.
Because there are 6 pistons beneath this bonnet. Under here is a straight 6 turbocharged engine. The first time a Morgan has ever had a turbocharger. That's progress, right? It's a BMW engine, so it's exactly the same 3-litre engine as in the BMW Z4 and the Toyota Supra. 340 horsepower, which is a lot. This car also doesn't have any traction or stability controls, so I'm kind of glad it's not raining.
But I needn't have worried, because it was immediately obvious the Plus 6 is a very well thought through car.
This new aluminium tub, it honestly feels like it's got some tech, some race pedigree behind it.
But don't think a more capable car equals a less exciting one.
So we're talking 0 to 62 in 4.2 and a top speed of 166. Now, neither of those figures are to be sniffed at. Getting that proper turbo snort. You've never heard this in a Morgan. Never.
Other Morgan innovations include proper space, an extra 20 centimetres of length in the passenger compartment, which means that lanky blokes like me can now actually be comfortable.
The Plus 6 Morgan starts at £79,000. Bearing in mind though, you are buying always with a Morgan exclusivity. They only make 300 of these a year. Before today, I didn't really like any other Morgans apart from the 3-wheeler. I feel like I now need to change my opinion because this thing is really rather good.
If this car is anything to go by, Morgan has a very bright future under its new Italian owners, and I doubt we'll have to wait another 19 years for the next model.
Come on! Wow!
Now it's over to our engineering wizard Jimmy DeVille, who's exploring another modern motoring icon that's changed the way cars are now designed and built.
In the 90s, this graced many a bedroom wall because it looked like a spaceship on wheels, and now it still does. Out of nowhere, Jaguar unveiled the XJ220, what you could call the world's first hypercar. But behind the scenes, the story wasn't all roses. Let me explain. Back in 1988, Jaguar wheeled out their prototype XJ220 at the British Motor Show. 1,500 wealthy petrol heads couldn't slap their £50,000 deposit down quick enough. However, by the time the car went into production, it appeared to be a shadow of its former self. Unlike the concept, it had no scissor doors, anti-lock brakes or 4-wheel drive. And thanks to emission regs and build costs, gone was the 6.2-litre V12 that had originally been proposed, to be replaced by a 3.5-litre V6 turbocharged unit. And by now, the price had gone up a bit, from £290,000 to £470,000. Remember, this was nearly 30 years ago. Not surprisingly, many of the prospective buyers snatched their deposits back, and of the planned run of 350, only 280 examples were ever made. So why is the XJ220 an icon in my view? Well, firstly, it did become the world's fastest production car, a record it held between 1992 and 93, with a top speed of 217 miles per hour. And then there was the bit of the car that Jaguar didn't change. It was a revolutionary moment that has influenced car design ever since. The XJ220 is not just a thing of beauty, it's an engineering masterpiece that keeps one of its major innovations hidden. To find out more, I've come to Don Law Racing, Jaguar specialists who are the world's leading authority regarding the 220, and the only place in the world where you'll see this many together. With one on a ramp, I'll get to see what makes the Jag special, and I'm fortunate to be joined by designer Keith Helfet, who came up with a unique concept.
Well, I was responsible for the exterior design of the car. We thought that the car needed downforce. The aerodynamics became the driver to most of what I was doing with the car.
So it's the downforce is the force of the air that pushes the car onto the ground.
That gives it much more traction. So it can go around corners faster, it can brake faster, it can do most of its handling much better.
So how does the XJ220 create its downforce? Well, it's all to do with different airspeeds. If I take these two sheets of paper and blow between them, you would expect them to blow apart, but they don't. They actually suck together. That's because fast-moving air creates an area of low pressure relative to the slower air around it. An aircraft wing is more curved on the top than the bottom, so the air is forced to travel faster over the upper surface, and this creates lift. The XJ220 simply takes this concept and flips it upside down. Rather than big wings on the top, they went underneath, with a design that sucked air upwards, forcing it to accelerate, which created lower pressure compared to the air going over the top. And it was this revolutionary piece of engineering which not only created the downforce, but also influenced the future of car design. These curves are creating that shape which makes this want to push down onto the road. So it creates downforce. And before all you boffins complain that the physics are not quite as simple as this, that's the bare bones of it. And the name given to this brilliant aerodynamic device? A diffuser.
The underside of the car all of a sudden becomes as important as the top of the car. Everything was developed smoothly into a diffuser.
This is the first time this has ever been done on a road car.
Well, we didn't think of that at the time. In fact, history, I think, has told us that it was the first time.
So now that I've got my head around what's going on underneath, I went out for a spin with Justin, who's the owner of this example and the encyclopedia of all things XJ220.
Holy!
That is devastating.
It's just immense. And the handling, they just really just hold the road beautifully.
Look at you, how can you not love that?
So, fancy a go?
Oh, come on. Honestly?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
I'm going to drive it. I'm going to drive a 220.
Right.
I'm getting out, I'm getting in. Oh my gosh! That is just ridiculous. And this car actually, as much as being an advance in what we know and how we build cars, it was just an exceptional thing. It's just perfect. You know, it doesn't scream, it doesn't howl, it just goes, and gutsy and brutish and wonderful. Oh. The XJ220 is such a privilege to drive, and I'm so in awe that my words just stop forming. Its influence is clear to see on cars today, from a McLaren to a Megane. They've all adopted the sleek diffuser underside to improve traction and handling. I'm going to struggle to let go of this steering wheel. The XJ220, what a car.
After the break, it's round 2 of our Super SUV Challenge. We've seen how the Jag and the Alfa cope on the road, but what happens when things get a bit slippery?
I can see that tree coming in.
And Vicky gets behind the wheel of the Ford GT. It may have the same badge as the humble Fiesta, but it's every inch a hypercar.
Oh yes, it can slide.
It's time to return to our Super SUV battle between the mouthful that is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio and the Jaguar F-Pace SVR.
So far, we've looked at how these cars measure up on the road, and although the Alfa drove well, the Jag was simply a more luxurious place to spend your time.
This is quite nice in here, actually, isn't it?
I like it. I really do.
So the SVR is 1 up, and we move on to test 2.
Now, with over 500 horsepower under the bonnet of each of those cars, the Alfa and the Jag were clearly designed to push along.
Which is fine in a straight line. The problem comes in the corners because tall, heavy cars don't enjoy the bends like low, light ones.
And the problem becomes an even bigger challenge if we have a cold, wet winter's day with low grip.
Or even a wet surface covered in detritus.
Both manufacturers make claims that these cars can deal well with low traction conditions. So we found this short, slimy stretch of road to see how our SUVs cope when things get slippery underfoot.
The route takes in a short loop with a hard right-hander to test lateral grip, followed by a short straight for testing traction under hard acceleration, then a flying run back. We get 3 goes each and are starting with a Jag.
Now this weighs just over 2 tonne, which is a lot when you think it's all packaged quite high up. So it'll be interesting to see how it get on around here.
Yeah, I've got a bit of paper here where their press blurb says that the F-Pace has an all-wheel drive system that gives confident handling in all weathers and on all surfaces. Should we see if they're right?
The Jag's 4-wheel drive system normally puts most of the torque to the rear. However, up to 90% can be sent to the front wheels, depending on where the grip is needed. It's also got an electronic diff that can instantly recognise a loss of traction on one of the back wheels and distribute full power to the other.
In all the right modes?
Yeah.
Very good. Right.
Oh, yeah, just checking everything's all alive. Idiots.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
What?
Very safe.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't feel safe. I'll tell you what, though. I mean, it's a bit slippy, but... Oh, yeah, fine, sir.
18.1 for the first run. 3, 2, 1, go.
Do you know what? It is crunchy, though, isn't it?
No, it's a 5-litre engine.
Do you know what? I just don't want to understeer into one of these trees.
The Jaguar might have all the toys to help traction, but even these can't disguise the weight transfer of a big SUV on slimy roads.
That was a 17.62.
Can we get the 16s, you reckon?
I haven't brought spare underpants.
Come on, let's go for 16, eh?
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, got on the brakes too early there.
It just feels all wrong. 17.23. I'm really glad that was over.
It's not nice. Now, like the Jag, Alfa Romeo are also pretty confident of their car's ability, and I'll read their marketing chat. It states, impeccable performance everywhere. A hairpin road, unsurfaced tracks, snow-covered, or cornering in driving rain.
It's also 240 kilos lighter than the Jag you were driving.
And that means the car should be more willing to go around corners.
So I might have half a chance here.
Under normal conditions, the Alfa sends most of its power to the back wheels. However, while the Jag can transfer nearly all of its power, in the Alfa only 50% can be sent up front if rear grip is lost. So I've got 17.23 to beat.
3, 2, 1, go. Well, not a bad launch. Oh, mate, this feels much more car-like.
Understeering there.
18.64.
It hasn't quite got the stability in the corner. It's understeered, isn't it? It's not that
Yeah,
long
yeah,
corner.
yeah,
I had to wait a long time before the front pointed to where I wanted to go.
So the Alfa is 1.4 seconds behind the Jag. Could it improve on run 2?
3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, top it. See what you mean? First turn, it is a bit understeering.
Yeah.
Looks good round here, mind. Ah, see, that was good. Ah, this is much better. Oh, yeah. 17.87.
Okay, chipping away. Chipping away.
You may be chipping away, Karun, but you're still half a second behind. And this is your last go.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, that was better. Oh, I could see that tree coming there. Check you out, Mr. Speedy. Well, do you know what? That was an 18 dead.
So no improvement for the Alfa, which loses our slippery corner challenge. In spite of its lighter weight, it was more reluctant to corner, and this tendency to understeer cost it valuable time.
Tell you what, that Jag's good, isn't it?
The Jag is good, it's stable.
So the SVR goes 2 up with just 1 challenge remaining. Can the Alfa salvage anything when we head to the track for some flat-out lap times? Or will it be a Jag whitewash? Join us later to find out.
I love the blue oval. 116 years of history lie behind that 4-letter word. Fords with initials like RS and ST are adored around the world, but this one is a bit special. This one has 655 horsepower, it'll do 216 miles an hour and has the letters GT. This latest GT has been an elusive, ultra-exclusive car since it was released in 2016. In fact, just to be allowed to buy one, you had to go through an application process, and Ford asked prospective buyers to send a 60-second video on why they would be a good GT owner. It was launched to celebrate 50 years since Ford finally completed the aim of their GT project in 1966 by beating Ferrari at Le Mans and going on to win the endurance race an incredible 4 years in a row. So perhaps it's fitting that now, 50 years since that last victory in 1969, I've finally got my hands on the GT to see if the modern version that has to meet the 21st century's rules and regulations is anything like its legendary namesake.
What a way to start the day. I've barely gone 100 metres in it and I'm smiling like the old Cheshire cat. It's powered by a 3.5-litre twin-turbo V6 engine with 750 Newton-metres of torque and a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Its carbon fibre body is low, it's long and it's wide, and underneath that is a carbon fibre tub that's stiff and light. Inside, the GT is a proper stripped-out machine with a bare carbon fibre dashboard and small infotainment screen. If it looks familiar, that's because it is the same as you'll see in a 20 grand Fiesta. Now, this seat is fixed, so you have to pull a loop to bring the pedals towards you. The steering wheel does move every which way, but even so, at my lofty 5'5.5", I have had to put somebody's jacket behind me so I can just fit better. 1,350 of these mighty machines will be made over 6 years in Canada and at a cost of £420,000 each. They have all been sold. Owners of the car were banned from selling it for 2 years, so now we're seeing the first used models appearing and going at auction for more than double the original price. This GT is now likely worth nearly £1 million. This car was designed from the start to be a racing machine, and while it competed successfully at Le Mans, it has now been retired, so one last hurrah is called for. And so, to unleash this fully, I need to go and find a special piece of tarmac. Anglesey Circuit, a perfect place. And the perfect mode, track. It lowers the suspension by 50mm, and the hydraulic rear wing at the back deploys. The suspension is now stiffer for improved handling, while the wing improves downforce and grip. Gee whiz, that V6 engine screams at you behind and corners fly towards you in the front. This thing is quick. It'll do 0 to 62 in 2.8 seconds. The GT accelerates quickly and feels light because of extensive use of lightweight material. The body, chassis and even the wheels on this car are all carbon. I can't believe this is the same car that cushioned the road so well outside the track. Oh, it's quite ferocious, you know. You have to be on your game. But I think the harder you drive it, the better it becomes. The lock stop. Oh yes, it can slide. There's a very clever anti-lag system system that reduces turbo lag. So when I lift my foot off the gas, the throttle in the engine stays open and fresh air goes through to the turbo to keep it spinning. So you instantly get the power that you need. And that technology has filtered its way down Ford's range and is in the Focus ST. It also stops as fiercely as it goes thanks to an active rear brake on the spoiler, which shoots itself vertically into the air when you hit the brakes from 75 miles an hour or above. If I was being super critical, I would like some more feeling through the steering. A note to anyone building a supercar, please give it a proper circle for a steering wheel so that when I'm dancing with it, I know which angle to grab at. And oh cripes, there is a lot of grip. The rear wing pins you down at the back and the flaps at the front glue you to the tarmac. Now because this car is so squashed down to the ground anyway in track mode, there is a zero body roll. This really is a racing car, and the more you push it, the more it loves it. Oh my gosh, this is like proper hooligan toy. Ford's fastest machine really comes alive on a track. It may lack a little polished finesse of other supercars, but it more than makes up for that with noise and brute force. Boys, more fuel and tyres, please.
After the break, we'll certainly be fueled up for the conclusion of our 70 grand Super SUV challenge. The Jag has won the first 2 rounds, but can the Alfa restore some pride in a head-to-head challenge on the track?
That worked, didn't it?
Welcome back to the final part of our Super SUV challenge between the Jaguar F-Pace SVR and the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio.
So far, the Jag has proved to be a better road car thanks to its comfort and interior quality, and had better grip when we tested the manufacturer claim on a slippery surface.
So, will it be a slam dunk, or can the Alfa restore some dignity as we turn our attention to outright performance with some timed laps?
With 510 horsepower under the bonnet of this Alfa, I've got 40 horsepower less than the Jag. However, the Alfa does weigh 240 kilos less, giving it a power-to-weight ratio of 279 per tonne.
Yep, I've only got 266 of those power-to-weight ratio things, so consequently, my 0 to 62 times half a second slower, but I've got 680 newton meters of torque compared to your 600, so I reckon it's going to be close.
We'll start with the Jag.
So, Karun, you've sampled this car in comfort setting out on the road. So now I've put it into dynamic. It's going to tighten all the dampers up, lower the suspension by about 150 millimeters, sharpen up the throttle, exhaust open a bit to give it a nice raucous noise.
Does sound good.
Helps the engine breathe a bit more. This is the cat at its meanest.
So, a flying start. Let's start the clock and see what the SVR can deliver.
Oh, your 5 seems a bit nippy then. Turn in, turn in, turn in, turn in. Oh, do you know what? That worked out a treat actually then. So I need to...
Oh, that's better. Now you've got to just get out of this without the understeer.
Come on, get on the power. That worked, didn't it? I tell you what, that's grunty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, stop, 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 stop.
I tell you, you've got 2 tons to try and slow down.
Come on, turn, 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 turn.
I think you've got some understeer, Jason. Oh.
It's a quick wagon, isn't it?
It's
drives
a very,
really
very
well.
quick wagon.
It's good fun.
I mean, we're doing 140 miles an hour before you hit the brakes. It's ridiculous. Think.
I mean, what is going on? Oh, yeah, oh, do you know what, that little yump I thought was going to catch me out then. Come on, JP, good exit.
113.89.
I reckon you might have a chance in.
I mean, it's lighter, isn't it? The Alfa's, I've got 240 kilos on you, which in the corners has got to be helpful. It's whether the twin turbo can, you know, if I can get over the turbo lag and punch out of the corners, I've got a chance.
I'm quite impressed with this, actually.
I am impressed with it.
It's a good bit of kit, isn't it?
So, can the Stelvio beat 1 minute 13.89?
In the Alfa is a system called the chassis domain control. So when I go into race mode, it sounds a bit more growly, and also adjusts the stability of the car, the suspension, the brakes, and it just optimizes the whole car for performance on track.
Stopwatch at the ready. Hot lap time.
Whoa. Tell you what, it's snappy, isn't it? Oh, this is going to win, isn't it? So, oh, look at that! He's now on the brakes.
Whoa!
Mate, how good was that?
It's good on the brake.
That was lovely, wasn't it?
Whoa! It's a bit wild. It is impressive, yeah.
Oh, this is what I don't like, this bit. Track limits. It's quite snappy, this, don't you think?
Yeah.
What's happening again? I really don't like it.
No racing driver likes to be a passenger, and I'm certainly no exception.
Will you stop it, man? It's a bit nipply, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think it pushes on as quick as a Jag, though.
It doesn't feel as quick in a straight line.
No.
Man, you're doing 140 miles an hour. Oh, God. Oh, dear. So what was the time?
Yours was a 13.8.
Oh, the balance is much nicer, isn't it? Ready? Jesus Christ. 12-1.
Wow.
Yes, 1 minute 12.1. The Stelvio has just beaten the Jag by almost 2 seconds, which is a big gap on this relatively short circuit.
Do you know what? It's round the corners, it's a car. That's a 4x4.
When you go on a race board, okay, it's a bit nervous and a bit twitchy and a bit edgy to drive, but it does feel like a car.
It's impressive, isn't it?
It is.
So the Alfa wins back some pride in our last challenge, but which would we actually want to take home?
If you're looking for a sporty SUV, which you're also going to do the occasional track day with, this is the one probably, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But for down and out, cruising around, everyday motor, where you want a bit of grunt, Jag wins.
Gotta be the Jag. Yep.
And because cars like these will spend the vast majority of their time on the road, it's the SVR we choose and is the winner of today's challenge. But make no mistake, both fit the bill, proving you can have a sporty, powerful SUV that is incredibly fast, versatile and fun.